So let's begin this chapter by defining what business is. Business is defined as an individual or an organization who try to earn a profit by providing products that satisfy the needs of people or their customers. The outcome of its effort and of are products that have both tangible and intangible characteristics that are going to provide that satisfaction and that benefit. When you purchase a product, you're buying the benefit and satisfaction of that product, and you think that it's going to provide. A Subway sandwich, for example, may be purchased to satisfy your hunger. A car could be purchased to satisfy the need for transportation, and you could also be purchasing a car to have such a certain image. Tangible goods, way I always told my students to know the difference between tangible and intangible is tangible something you can put your hands on. An automobile, a smartphone, a Subway sandwich. A service is dry cleaning, sports events, concerts. Those would all be services. And an idea is intellectual property. So the primary goal of business is to earn a profit. That means the central concept of profit is central to every business. If they're not making a profit, they're not going to stay in business. So you have to remember that throughout this entire book. It is they must make a profit in order to stay in businesses. We define profit as the difference between what it costs to make that product and what they are selling it for, or what the customer pays for it. So the goal is to produce and sell a product at a price that a consumer is going to pay that's above your cost of making and selling it. Now, the example they give us is it's $10. As we sold a Subway sandwich for $10, it cost us $8 to make that Subway sandwich. So you say, well, how does that's your employee salary, that's your rent that you've made, and that's all the products it makes to come up with that Subway sandwich. So when all that has been taken care of, you made a $2 profit. Now, businesses have the right to keep and use profits as they choose, as long as it's within the legal limits, and it needs to be able to be contributed to society, and it must be earned in a responsible manner. So you have to think about, if I'm doing something illegal, even though I'm making a profit, it's not going to contribute to society, and it's not being earned in a responsible manner. You also have nonprofit organizations. Now, their fundamental or basic purpose is not earning profits. They do have to make money in order to meet their payroll, to pay for their rent, pay for their supplies and things like that. But that's not their main goal. Their main goal is to provide goods and services. So in order to get that money to do that, they have fundraising, they have different management, marketing, and finance things that they have to meet in order to be able to stay in business. All right, so in order to earn a profit, you have to have some skills. You have to have management skills, marketing expertise, financial resources, social responsibility, and acting ethically. And some of the challenges that are going to be prevalent when you're earning a profit is abiding by the laws and regulation, and then adapting to external change. Let's talk about stakeholders. A stakeholder is anyone that has a hand in seeing that your business thrives, and that can be customers, employees, investors, government regulators, and community. So to achieve and maintain profits, your business must produce quality products, you must operate efficiently, and you have to be socially responsible and ethical when you're dealing with those stakeholders. This slide gives you an overview of the business world relationship. The people involved in business and activities are owners, employees, and customers. They are considered your main stakeholders. Then you have your external environment, and that is your competition, the economy, IT, legal and political forces, and social responsibility. I have included a YouTube video, and if it's done in, when I upload it to Canvas, if it doesn't show, if you would like to know the difference between a stakeholder and a shareholder, you can Google and look for that video. So let's take a little bit and talk about the people and activities of business. And we're going to start with management. Management's going to involve developing your plans. You have to coordinate your employees' actions to achieve the firm's goals and objectives. You have to organize your people to work efficiently, and you also have to motivate your employee. Now, just about everything in the remainder of this chapter is going to be looking at the functions of business, and that's planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. And management's also concerned with acquiring, developing, and using resources effectively and efficiently. All right, let's start with talking about marketing. Marketing focuses on satisfying the customer's needs and wants. It involves getting your information through research. You've got to plan and develop your product, and you have to analyze that marketing environment. You also have a marketing mix, and it's product, price, place, and promotion. Now, we will go into this in more depth when we get to the marketing chapter. So make sure that you have it in the back of your mind, but we're going into it in depth. Then we have finance. Finance is the money, and it's usually the owner's primary responsibility for obtaining those financial resources for the operation of the business. So they're going to use their knowledge to obtain money and then use that money effectively. So why should you study business? Studying business is going to help you develop the skills and knowledge that you're going to need to prepare for your future career. Whether you think that you may go to work for a Fortune 500 company, maybe you're going to work for the government, you want to do your own nonprofit, or even you want to start your own business and be an entrepreneur. What you learn in this course is going to help you understand all the necessary information from marketing through data analysis. And so these are some of the things that you're going to be looking at: marketing, human resources, information technology, finance, production, accounting, data analytics. And through all of these, you're going to better understand those business activities. Not only are you going to be a great business person, you're going to be a well-informed consumer and member of society. You're also going to be learning about the economic foundations of business. Now, you will be taking micro and macroeconomics, and it'll give you a more in-depth study of economics. But first of all, we need to know that economics is going to be your study of how resources are distributed for the production of those goods and services within a social system. First of all, you have natural resources, and those are land, forests, minerals, water, anything that are not made by humans or people. Then you have human resources, and that's your physical and mental abilities that people use to produce goods and services. And most of the time, it's going to be listed as labor. You have your financial resources, and it is referred to as capital. And those are those funds or money used to acquire the natural and human resources needed to provide the products. Um, because human, because natural, human, and financial resources are going to be used to produce those goods and service, they are sometimes called factors of production. The firm can also have what is considered intangible resources, and those are things that will make or break you because it is built on a good reputation for quality products or even being socially responsible. An economic system will describe how a particular society is going to distribute its resources and able to produce goods and services. So there's three issues that you want to look at. What goods and services, how much of each, and how will they satisfy the consumer's needs? So you will ask yourself that. How are those goods and services to be produced? Who's going to produce them, and what are the resources they're going to need to be produced. And then the third question is, how are these goods and services going to be distributed? How are you going to get them to the consumers? So as we begin to look at the economic foundations of business, we're going to start with communism. Now, communism was first described by Karl Marx, and it was described as a society in which the people, without regard to class, own all of the nation's resources, and that includes central government planning. Now, if you look at it on paper, it appears to be efficient, but in practice, this type of an economy suffers from low standards of living, critical shortages of consumer goods, extremely high prices, corruption, and little freedom. You do not want to be a communistic government. The government rules everything. Cuba was always known as a communistic government, but recently, and I'm sorry I don't remember exactly how long it's been, it has not been too long, they instituted a new constitution, and what it does is it promotes socialism rather than communism. And in the next slide, we're going to talk about socialism. And socialism is an economic system in which the government owns and operates the basic industries, your postal service, your telephone, your utilities, transportation, healthcare, everything. But individuals will own most of the businesses. Most are democratic and they recognize individual freedoms. It does allow a higher standard of living and is more stable than a communistic government. But here's what I want you people to think about, because you're the generation coming up and you're the ones that are going to stop the direction in which the United States seems to be going towards socialism. Taxes and unemployment are generally high. Why? Because in a socialistic government, it is everybody's supposed to be equal. So say, for instance, your dad has worked extremely hard. He owns his own business. He is very well off, but he has worked for everything he's gotten. And then his next door neighbor is lazy. He doesn't want to work. He wants the government to take care of him. In a socialistic government, what they're going to do is take from your dad and they're going to give to this individual so he can be equal with your dad, even though he hasn't done anything to make his standard of living any better. So while socialism looks really good on paper, in reality, it does not work. And then we have capitalism, or something else is known as free enterprise. Capitalism or free enterprise is the economic system in which individuals own and operate the majority of businesses that's going to provide the goods and services. The competition, supply, and demand determine which goods and services are produced, how they are produced, how they are distributed. Capitalism or free enterprise countries that are very successful are Australia, the United States, Canada, and Japan. Now, there's also something called a pure capitalism or a free market system, and that is when all the economic decisions are made without government intervention. It's also called laissez-faire capitalism. And in a modified capitalism, the government intervenes and regulates businesses to some extent. And this table just shows you the differences between ownership, competition, and profits between all three types of governments. And this is the second part of that one. All right, so let's look at mixed economies. Most nations operate as a mixed economy, which have elements of more than one economic system. For example, in socialist Sweden, most businesses are owned and operate by private individuals. In the capitalistic United States, an independent federal agency operates the Postal Service. Even though we feel like that the Postal Service is a government agency, it is not. It's under the umbrella, but it is not a government agency. China and Russia have used state capitalists to advance the economy, integrating powers of the state with the advantages of capitalism. We talked about this one. The free enterprise systems will allow your company to succeed or fail based on the market demand. All right, now there is some basic individual and business rights. As an individual or a business in the United States, you have the right to own property, the right to earn profit and use them as you wish. You have the right to determine your business operation, and you have the right to choose what career you want to pursue, where to live or locate a business, and what goods or services to purchase. And that is from a capitalistic or a mixed capitalistic society. For instance, communism, students are told what college they will attend, what their field of study will be, if they're athletic, what athletic team they can belong to. So we've been talking about a little bit about business, and so now we're going to look at supply and demand. And demand is the number of goods and services that consumers are willing to buy at different prices at a specific time. Supply is the number of products, which are goods or services, that our businesses are willing to sell at a different price at a specific time. Now, critics say that this system doesn't distribute resources equally. You're not ever going to distribute sources equally. When we have the demand, then the price is going to go up. When we have a good supply of products, then the price is going to go down. Supply and demand forces prevent sellers who have to sell at higher prices and buyers who cannot afford to buy the goods at the equilibrium price from participating in the market. Now, this slide shows you what the equilibrium price is. And what that is when the number of products businesses are willing to supply equals the amount of products consumers are willing to buy. That's going to be the price. So this one is like handmade. And so if you look at it, it looks like that the equilibrium price that everybody's kind of agreeing on would be a little over $500. And this one just shows how Taylor Swift went to war with scalpers because there was a limited number of seats for contracts. What happened was your scalpers actually bought up all the tickets, and then they began to sell them at a premium price. So what Taylor Swift did was she joined Ticketmaster's verified fan system, and what that was is it's going to identify fans less likely to resell tickets, and then those are the ones that they're going to try to get the tickets into the hands of. So scalpers, they are the ones that are going to try to grab up all these tickets and sell them so that they can make a huge profit on them. So we're still looking at the nature of competition. So the first thing we need to do is we need to identify what competition is. Competition represents the rivalry among businesses for the consumer dollars. It should improve quality of goods and services, or it's going to should reduce the prices down. There are 4 types of competition. Your pure competition is the market structure that exists when there are many small businesses selling one standard product, and the prices are determined solely by supply and demand. I think of your food products. So you can just about get a loaf of bread anywhere. And so you got many small businesses, big businesses selling that bread. The monopolistic competition is when the market structure exists. There are few businesses than a pure competition environment, and the differences among the goods are small. So businesses have some power over price due to marketing. So there's one product, but only a few businesses sell those. I think about maybe your gun shops. You don't have a gun shop on every corner, so there's some differences in the goods that they're all guns, but they may be a little ones. And then you've got an oligopoly, and that is where the market structure exists when there's few businesses selling a product and individual businesses control that price. I would think that could be like your gas stations. You may have a gas station but they're all gas stations. And so the individual owner of that gas station decides what he wants to sell it for. And then you have a monopoly, and that's one business providing a product in a given market, and the government permits it due to the cost of supplying the service. And I don't know if this book mentions it, but the other editions always mentioned diamonds. You only have one country that supplies diamonds, so they can about set the price they want on diamonds. And this just kind of goes into the economic cycles and productivity. When an economy is growing and people are spending more money, your purchases are going to stimulate that production of goods and services, which in turn stimulates employment. Rapid expansion of the economy, however, may result in inflation, a continuing rise in the prices. So when that happens, we can have the standard of living rises when we are in a good economy, but then it can lead to inflation, can be harmful, and it reduces buying power. So you can see the curve here. And if I had to predict what we were in right now, I would think we are kind of right here in the recession, because we had the boom right before COVID hit. There was plenty of building, there was plenty of money, and then we started losing jobs, and now it is inflation, because everything is inflated. We got on the news today, our electric bill's going up 12.5%. That's a big increase. So that is kind of the economic cycle, what it looks like. And an economic contraction is a slowdown of economy, and it is characterized by a decline in spending, during which businesses cut back and lay off workers. That's exactly what we're doing right here. We're in an economic contraction. Contractions of the economy can lead to a recession, which is, again, a decline in production, unemployment, and a decline in income, because businesses can't they can't pay their employees more, because they're being charged more for the products that they are having to use. Deflation occurs when rising unemployment stifles demand, forcing prices down. And then I have never seen it in my lifetime. A severe recession may turn into a depression. And if you want to know what it was like, talk to your great grandparents or your great grandparents about it. This just shows how unemployment in the 40s was so high, and then how in 2000 it was down, and now it was down in 2019, but you notice it is starting to creep up, because businesses cannot continue to hire when it costs so much to operate. So let's talk about how economies expand and contract in response to changes in consumer spending, business spending, and government spending. And we measure the economy in gross domestic product. You will always see it listed as GDP. But now keep in mind that this does not include profits from the companies overseas. So let's look at a budget deficit. A budget deficit is going to occur when the money going out, your spending, exceeds the money coming in, which is your revenue, during a specific period. And generally it's done every year. In FY, which is fiscal year 2022, the government spent $6.27 trillion and collected only $4.9 trillion. And so we had a budget deficit of $1.38 trillion. So 2022 is referred to as a deficit spending year. Now, what does that mean to you? As our budget deficit grows to record levels, in order to reduce, they got to come up with money. So guess what? They're either going to have to raise your taxes, or they're going to have to reduce spending. So that is why it is important not to encourage, just borrow more money, make more money. You get a deficit. Your budget deficit is going to be out of this world. In a report, the Congressional Budget Office described its projections of the federal budget and the U.S. economy, saying it's going to be every year more than $1.4 trillion in a budget deficit if we keep doing what we're doing, giving away money, and just not cutting back on some of the spending in our government. And this just kind of shows you, that's just a graph. This is how to evaluate your economy. trade balance. It just kind of shows you what is our trade balance. And again, it's we're a deficit. Your consumer price index, your per capita income, your unemployment rate, inflation, and worker productivity. So these are things that you need to be looking at as you're getting ready to go to work. All right. So the standard of living, that is what is referred to the level of wealth and material comfort that people have available to them. Low standards of living characterized by poverty, higher unemployment, and lower education rates. Now, what's the importance of the American economy? We are considered an open economy, or an economy in which economic activities occur between the country, the U.S., and the international community. In an open economy, it tends to grow faster, and we are in the United States a major player in international trade. The government obtains $2.6 trillion in individual income taxes, and I think I've paid probably my share of that. And 4.4% of government's total revenue comes from corporate income taxes. So that's why it's important to have corporate income taxes. And this is just the next couple of slides are just talking about the history of the American economy. Our early economy was agriculture, which meant that people produced everything they needed at home. It was a domestic system. They worked the farm, the women, they made their bread and their butter and things like that. Then we moved into the Industrial Revolution, and that's when we began to have new technologies. We had some factories. These factories were combined, factories combined material, machines, and workers. Although they were very, they were not very technologically advanced. And then in the Industrial Revolution, Ford introduced the assembly line. Then we went to the manufacturing and marketing economy. And that is when it began to be concerned with customer needs. Our next era was the service and digital economy. It began to lead us into the new digital, where everything was, internet based. The COVID-19, when everything shut down, it began to accelerate adoption of certain technologies. Working from home. Before COVID, very few people worked from home. Companies began to reduce real estate because they found it was just to have a brick and mortar, and then allow, instead of having so many people in there, they began to just allow people to work from home. And then shopping shifted online. I'm sure most of you do your shopping online. The only thing I have shifted to most of mine online, other than my groceries. Can't do that. I have to buy my groceries. Then we went to the technology and economy. Technology includes the methods and processes creating applications to solve problems, perform tasks, and begin to make decisions. And now we are in the accelerated intelligence, and you will always see it referred to as AI. And what it does is it relates the machine or your computer's learning that is able to perform activities and tasks that usually require human intelligence. Then we have big data, and that is the AI system learned from big data, and it uses to improve strategy. Blockchain, and I had never heard of this before this edition of the book, is decentralized record-keeping technology that stores linked block of order transitions over time. So I think about that when I think about every time I go into Amazon, everything I've ordered is stored in my shopping history. Of course, everybody knows about drones and how they're used. They're unmanned aerial devices, and now we're into robotics, and they can pull orders, and they can now they have the dogs. They're the robotic dogs, and they have the ones that looks bomb sniffing drones. Now, the role of the entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is an individual who risks your wealth, your time, and your effort to develop for a profit a product or a way of doing something. It's a free enterprise system that provides conditions for success. It's constantly changing American businesses practices because of new technology, and innovative management techniques. And so finally, let's look at the role of government in the American economy. Our government is best described as modified capitalism because the government regulates business to preserve competition and protect consumers' employees. They regulate it in a way that it's protecting everyone. There's laws that they have to adhere to, and sometimes government agencies have to occasionally intervene. Business ethics, and if you have not taken business ethics, BUS 290, it's offered on campus and I teach it online. It is the standards that are set by the society. Your stakeholders that we talked about demand ethical and social behavior. Your ethical behavior can drive profits, and you have to monitor changes and trends in today's society. So that is chapter 1 of our book, and I hope you look forward to learning so many more important aspects of business.